Hey,
Evening,
nice to
everybody.
see ya. We're just setting up here, going live now. We got TikTok, YouTube. Come on, Instagram.
Come on,
Give me something to work with.
get it together.
I'm clicking the
Get it
button,
together.
but it is
Get
not.
it together.
Are you serious right now?
Instagram, you are full of misogyny.
Instagram, you're so sexist. I hit the button, doesn't work. I bring in a man, of course it starts working. It's bringing flashbacks from childhood when I would like tell my dad something's not working, and then he'd come around, and then it starts automatically working. I feel so foolish.
So I think the only lesson to pull from that is patience.
I was kind of like trying to rush it.
Yeah, patience. That's
probably been like my lifelong dilemma.
Is that the ADHD thing? Or
is that I'm like, hurry up and start working, and the urgency, and then I'm like, someone help, it's not working, and then by the time they come around, starts working.
So it's not me at all. At all whatsoever.
It's not dramatic.
And next time I'll let you push the button because it'll start working again. I'll just stop and then you push the button.
Fair.
Okay. I'll
like
notice that. Yes, because definitively I'm doing nothing. I'm not useful when it comes to this.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no, no. I'm
drama.
saying no. You have not said that. You've not said that at all. I said that. I said that. She did not imply that at all. So let's be very clear. I do not feel like I'm of use to that thing.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I literally just tapped the button when it lit up.
Anywho, welcome to DC Radio. You're listening to Wit and Reason with
Alex
and Dr. Alexis. And today we are diving into, I'm actually going to let you say this title because this was Alex's brilliant idea to come up with such a long-ass wordy title that our graphics team even struggled to fit onto one Instagram post.
The funny part is I don't even remember. I know it's the mental health revolution. I know it has to do with burnout, boundaries, and Battlestar Galactica. No, it's not Battlestar Galactica. It's what? I don't know.
I have our little cheat sheet.
Right, burnout, boundaries, balance.
Battlestar Galactica.
And if you don't know what that reference is,
you're
watch
wrong.
The Office,
you should just
you're
leave.
wrong. It's just,
you're not welcome here.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that.
I'm just
don't
kidding.
Say that.
You probably need us more in your life if you don't get that reference.
Bears eat beets. Bears beats.
Battlestar Galactica.
That's what you should know. That's
I don't know who wouldn't know that.
I don't know.
Because that's such a generic show that everyone enjoys.
Fair.
I think so.
Yeah.
So tell me what's been happening with you. I mean, I live and work with you, so I think I have some kind of idea, but our friends, family who are watching probably don't. This is like the best way we get to interact with our loved ones in our lives. That's why we started working together in this DC radio show.
Yeah, just so people could have
in
some way, shape, or form.
They could connect with us on a weekly basis at a very specific time.
Well, with that in mind, like we work a lot, but I think one thing that I'm really enjoying right now is actually the mindful little kind of like creative walks we've been doing. So like we've been doing like walking meetings and talking meetings and creative meetings, and she's been waking up earlier in the morning to walk with me because I'm kind of the morning person, but she's really creative in the morning.
I know, it's hard to stop and like.
I'm really enjoying that because it's not like my morning workout or my morning thing that we're adding to. We're like doing something separate and making a meeting out of it, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really enjoying those meetings.
And I didn't even intend for it to go that way because we know psychologically that there's benefits to that. We even like encourage our corporate clients to like get out and walk more for creativity, take breaks, But we were walking around the other morning. We're in historic Savannah right now. Gorgeous place to walk around.
Yes.
And I was talking to you about a meeting I had and trying to come up with a creative production. And what I was struggling to figure out, like in the office, was just spewing out of me while we were walking. And I was like, oh my gosh, write this down because this is exactly how this production needs to go. Yes. Problem solved.
Yes. Well, I think that's the wonderful thing about this is like you walk, you talk. It's not this like kind of like you're stuck reliving the same moment over at your desk. Mm-hmm. Looking at a screen, looking at your computer, you're moving. And what's interesting is even if you look at like couple stuff, like couples work, couples therapy stuff, like there's people parallel processing. Yeah. And that ends up being a lot because like them talking next to each other, or like even like they talk about like driving in a car and having deep, meaningful conversations on a road trip.
Yep.
Those are likely because they're kind of next to each other, engaging.
Yeah. And is this factually correct? I'm not sure. You'll know. The benefits to old school Freudian on a couch
Yes.
layout.
Yeah.
Yes. That
So
is correct.
psychoanalysis where they have you, the Freud couch, people, but
the like
therapists
cliche
behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so that way you're. There's my phone. I'll cut
You
that
found
out
it.
and post.
You found it.
I found it. That's why they had the patient like laying on the couch, kind of like disassociating from the clinician and not looking at them originally, because then that could like lead to any kind of
transference, kind of.
and like shame and like embarrassment. So not looking directly at someone and just kind of like going off and just letting it all out.
Yeah.
There's some benefits to that.
No, there is. I mean, definitely. And I mean, what's interesting is you'll notice that like even people, especially neurodivergent folks, all you neurospicy folks, you'll notice that like us too, but like you a lot of times realize like even if you're doing therapy via telehealth, you don't have to look on camera. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. You don't need to stare at yourself. You don't need to stare at me. You already know what I look like probably.
There's benefits to us walking around.
Yes.
Walking the puppy, we get puppy time, we get sunshine these days.
Yeah.
We get to talk, we get the natural environment.
So that being said, I really like that. It's really been helping me through the days to like kind of fight some of the burnout-y stuff, because it's not burnout, but it's like that dynamic with work.
Yeah. The tension and then just kind of feeling cooped in.
Yeah.
You know, when you live and work in the same place, for those remote workers out there. For me, okay, so as you know, and as some of you who follow us know, I have been preparing for South by Southwest.
Fastidiously prepping.
I know. I was about to say like preparing like a madman, but then there's like negative connotations to that. So I was like, let me not say that. But then here I am.
Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Unfiltered. Preparing like a well-prepared person. For a conference.
Gotta work on that. Gotta work on that metaphor analogy.
We'll figure it out. You'll think
fix
of
the metaphor in post.
You'll think about it, and then it'll spew out later in an inconvenient time.
That's fair.
You'll get it.
I feel seen.
Preparing for South by Southwest because I am co-hosting a workplace mental health meetup at South by Southwest. We're going to be there in Austin. We're going to be there earlier, so if you're in Austin, meet up with us. And then if you're at South by Southwest, meet up with us at the meetup. Alex will be there as well. And March the 7th, 4:00, that local time zone, whatever that is.
You know,
what?
I was thinking there was somebody else talking at that time. I may have to go see that.
Rude! Shut the fuck up.
I'm kidding.
You're going to have to make me bleep that out later. We already got scolded for a profanity, and now I have to go back because of something you said.
Hey, wait, don't blame me for your profanity. It is not my fault.
The jokester here. So on the topic of workplace mental health, we're going to be diving in and preparing. I mean, this is something not only we study in school for years, and then also provide even long-term consultation services with corporations about it. So we're going to try to dive in as much as possible here on today's show.
Yeah.
But you know, there's only so much we could do. So we're not going to leave you alone with these struggles. We're also going to recommend some resources for you at the end as well.
Yes.
And if you have any thoughts, feelings, or tips, or even resources on your own, please share them in our comment section as well.
Yeah.
So what do you got? Can we start from the beginning? Let's go back, way back.
Let's go back.
Back into time.
So everybody, you all know what work is, but the history of work is actually really bizarre and weird and interesting. I don't know. The idea is that like there is a ton of ways in which work is historically highly dysfunctional.
It wasn't really made for the humans, was it?
No, it was
made for like human well-being in mind.
Well, because when you think about this, like if you worked for survival, right? If you didn't work, like it wasn't
hunt,
work.
Hunt and gathered.
Hunt and gathered. If you had your own farm, if you did all those things, that you yield the profit of this thing and you feel really good about it. But then we had land ownership and all these other things, and people decided that they couldn't own the land and they own the land, and then they said you had to tax the land. All right, anyway, so all these people like had to then trade for money, which imaginary objects that are worth something apparently. Sure. All right. But the idea is that like we have constantly been in this battle and around what work looks like historically, where we work a lot. We work a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort and will is poured into work. And the evolution of work and the way in which we work has never accounted for like our humanity.
I would say that, I mean, I know this isn't the beginning, but this might be the most like considered humans have been in the workplace in all of human history. I think we keep on evolving and advancing and challenging and pushing for human rights in the workplace. And I know the fight has started prior to us.
Yeah.
You know,
but I mean, before this, like, you know, I mean, when you, like, there has been factory workers and exploitation, all these other things. America's industrial complexes, like even if you look at the industrial era, had built this in. There's a long history of work being very adversarial, hence the building of unions and unionization and all these different things there. If you need to read something, read The Jungle. If you need to watch something, watch Newsies, because, you know, Disney musicals for that is great. But the idea is that unionization even just like held up workers' rights.
Yeah.
Because workers did not have the given rights in this place. They were asked to do things that they wouldn't normally do. The wage wasn't controlled. Nothing was controlled.
Right.
And it was very an exploitive process. So in that, we've tried to develop places and spaces in which we treat people better at work, right? Because if you have happy people at work, they're going to work better.
Or maybe not even happy.
Content?
Because
satisfied?
I'm my own boss and I am not always happy.
Fair.
And I have every ability to change up. But sometimes I'm going to feel frustrated. Sometimes I'm going to feel annoyed. Sometimes I'm going to feel stressed.
And happiness is definitely like a fleeting moment. It is a moment. It is a state. But the idea is that in that, work has to be something that satisfies certain aspects of your humanity to feel sustainable. And a lot of times it does not. So
let's talk about burnout.
Yes.
Because there is this horrific misconception that burnout is like a personal moral failing.
That
I feel burnt out. There's something wrong with me or the way that I work or my abilities or my self-worth. I mean,
if you're going to talk about the original gaslighting, that's where that starts. Gaslighting in around that is your duty to feel good about the work.
It doesn't matter what the workload is or what the pressures are or what the personality of your manager is. If you feel burnt out, it's your problem.
Your problem, and you need to be the solution to that problem.
And I'm going to write you up for having issues with any of it.
And that's problematic. And so then later on in their evolution of things in the 80s, we started doing employee assistance programs, EAPs. Yeah. So we tried to bring in mental health to the workplace in some way, shape, or form. Those are clunky and hard and awkward. Those EAP programs out there, more power to you. I appreciate you, but it's a really hard road to walk between HR, which is there for the business, for the employer, not the employee, as an intermediary between the two. And there's a lot of ways in which EAP falls through the cracks, doesn't get utilized enough, and they may not even have enough to then see people. In fact, I actually take EAP clients for the sole purpose that I feel like they're underserved, and I like to help them. Like it's one of the things that I do as it's not pro bono, but I feel good about it. But like the idea is that when you come into these things, there's only so much you can get there. Then we moved on to like 2000s, right? Everyone's like, oh, here's an app to like mitigate your stress. Or
so that's the other. Okay, so that's the other dilemma here, is that workplace mental health is not perks. Workplace mental health is policy.
Yeah.
And so,
what do you mean by that? Whatever do you mean?
So yes, it is nice to have a subscription for a mental health app that your employer pays for, or maybe even like a gym that your employer pays for. But and especially if you get to choose which it is, because not every app vibes with the right person or every gym. And then maybe, hey, it's a nice perk to have like yoga and meditation breaks at work. But when we're talking about policy, we're looking at like how you can function as a human being while also working.
Yes.
Meaning your workplace, your employer understands that you are not there for them 24/7.
Yeah.
And that there are healthy boundaries that allow you to just be human and to exist and to need to go to the doctors and to need to take breaks like lunch or 15-minute breaks along the way, and to stretch and to walk and to breathe fresh air and to have an emergency either for yourself or for a loved one, and to have that flexibility and not have the entire corporation crumple to the ground because life's.
Yeah.
And so the problem,
like my client said, the world keeps whirling on me.
Yes, that's fair. It happens. And so I think a lot of the challenges, if we look at work historically, is that it was never created with the human being aspect in mind.
And that productivity is a weird rubric, because productivity is based on your profit or numbers is different than what productive value actually is, because what's sustainable for a human and what does that really look like? And I think, when you come into there and you're talking about systemic change, policy-based things, we're talking about big changes. We're talking about, and then they permeate to like little tiny things that you don't quite notice. I don't know.
Go tell me what you were thinking. You brought it up. What are the tiny things?
So for example, the way that people have meetings, right? Us walking during a meeting is useful to a certain extent. But what is that actually giving us? It's giving us fresh air. It's giving us access to these things. There are people in cubicles living like Severance who do not see the light of day.
Yeah.
I always think of this. This always resonates in my head. Prisoners serving a life sentence have access to daylight. Let that sink in. Prisoners serving life sentences have access to a window and daylight.
And here's another. So we both worked forensic mental health. Do you remember and then this varies state to state. Do you remember the restrictions around solitary confinement?
Yes. What
is it?
Well, you had to have them monitored entirely. You had to have them checked in.
How long can someone legally?
You had to legally write it up. After every 20 minutes, you had to have a doctor look at it. But then after an hour, you had to sign off on it. Meaning that it had to be an actual order from a physician.
And then, so after 20 minutes of isolation, then they need to be able to come out, socialize.
And these are state hospitals. It's not the prison, but yeah.
So when I'm out in the world existing, and I see, this even comes down to housing, how small our homes are becoming, or how some people are living without proper windows or ventilation, or how isolated people are becoming because they're preoccupied or focused on work. Yeah. It makes me think of the conditions, the legal standards we uphold for people who are either incarcerated or in
hospital.
Yes, like a maximum security psychiatric hospital, and that's not the standard I want for anybody. Yeah, well, but it's something that I keep in mind is how am I living?
Yep.
How am I treating myself?
Yep. Am
I giving myself the bare minimum requirements that someone has legally in these types of circumstances? And that's something I want to share with you to consider as well. Are you living a better life? Are you taking better care of yourself, or are you taking better care of your team or your employees that are above the basic minimum standards for someone who is incarcerated or who has some kind of consequence as solitary confinement?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so for you, all right, when you see solutions here,
yes,
let's talk solutions. What do we talk about?
So before we even get into solutions.
Really? Before solutions?
Yes.
Okay. What are we talking about?
Let's listen to other people's experiences with work and line things up a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. This is where you all need to give me the grace of technology. And Alex, in the meantime, you go ahead and ask everyone this question here. Put in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts, experiences have been with work. And let's see, what are some of your thoughts around your workplace mental health?
All right. So that's so small. Does your company actually support mental health or just talk about it?
Drama.
Ooh, My company, Wit and Reason.
So Alex
supports
works for
mental
me. Do we support mental health?
Yes,
Okay, good.
definitively.
But that open dialogue is also part of mental health.
Yeah.
I need to receive that
Yes.
constructive feedback and be open to hearing it and working with it.
Well, having worked in other places and spaces, I would say that there's a lot of ways in which we don't. And usually one of the big things that I think of is when we're on set for film and television,
Yes.
the conditions under film and television are really strenuous. And we see you, we hear you when you're talking about on set, the amount of work that you're putting in.
The hours.
It's
especially if you're on
intense.
Location.
Yep.
And especially if you're working with like heavy subject matter as well. So when we talk about workplace, we mean all different types of workplace.
But I think of them a lot because, I mean, they're brutal because it has to go through these things. And I get why. I do understand why. So it's not to mitigate that, but it's also then how do you start creating that balance where you go, nope, we're tired. It doesn't matter. We're actually going to get sloppier and sloppier as this goes. We're not going to get what we need. And how do we look at the return on investment there and call it? Because the people making those calls don't necessarily get that part. They think once they get it, they'll get it. And you're going to get the product that you don't want. And then you're just going to keep on going and going. And you're wondering why. This is why. Because if you take different breaks, if you do it differently, chop it up differently, that's what that looks like. We're
going to talk more about that in solutions as well. So let's go ahead and hear out. Oh, did I do the volume part?
Share sound.
Don't give up on us. Tap to share.
Yep, it's going to be a tab.
Great.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is not a tab.
Watch. I'll do audio and you play it.
Okay. You're going to play at the same time.
Yes. Ready? This
is going to be miserable for people.
Yes, people, it will be miserable.
Okay, you ready?
Wait. All right, ready?
Okay, we're at the airport and we're playing at the same time on two different screens. Okay.
Hold on. Ready? I'm gonna do this. We're gonna get.
We're burnt out employees. I'm gonna show up to work 15 minutes late with coffee in hand and blame it on the traffic. I'm burnt out employees. I'm burnt out employees. I was about to realize I have $3 in my account. $3 in my account. I've been rage applying all day. We're burnt out employees. Every time I do a good job, I'm rewarded with more work. So now I pretend to suck at everything. We're burnt out employees. I don't make enough to pay for gas. Or food. Or rent. We're burnt out employees. We're burnt out employees. At least once a day. We're burnt out employees. Our bosses are the worst. Super toxic. They just overwork us. Don't know when Veronica, stop making TikToks on the clock. Kate, get back to work. We're burnt out employees.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That almost worked.
That almost worked.
I was so close to working.
Oh boy. We will figure this out someday.
One day.
Okay, so burnt out employees.
Burnout. All right, so and that's I find that hilarious because burnout, it's so many problems. You could prevent this. Somebody could actually work and enjoy their job and they keep on working, but no, you want to grind them down. Yeah.
That is the dream.
That is.
Okay. Do you have the other one ready?
I mean, define ready. Wait for it.
You have a job? A job market is...
Nope.
Wait.
And
press play.
You have a job. So bad that your job is overworking.
Yes, this is true. And as someone who studied industrial and organizational psychology, this is related to a phenomenon that a lot of high-performing employees typically face, which is performance punishment. And that is when you show yourself to be so competent and so efficient that you just receive more and more and more work, oftentimes without any additional pay or recognition. Truth be told, there's no real way to undo performance punishment because once high-performing employees start to explain that they're nearing burnout or once they try to start creating boundaries around how much work they can produce, all of a sudden senior leadership doesn't understand and has their panties in a bunch.
I'd say there. It's not there. So I love that because...
Which part?
The performance burnout.
My brain could not handle both audios playing at the same time.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
But performance burnout is interesting because I don't know if any of y'all experience this, but you work and you love what you do, or you did love what you do at some point, or you feel like, you have a sense of accomplishment or pride in these things, and you end up working really hard, right? You put in your effort, you put in that will, you do the things you need to do, you go above and beyond, and then they give you more. and then they give you more.
I know.
And then there's more.
Yes.
And then they keep going with the more. And you've shown yourself to be invaluable. And instead of them going, hey, nice job, wonderful, fantastic, you're doing, hey, you've done a great job. These people are slackers, so here's more work.
Right.
And that's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no end to that cycle.
And you know what people end up doing is they're like, well, just gonna hold my tongue and not make any suggestions and not say anything. I'm just gonna.
I always think of like
coast.
I always think of there's a movie out there, if you've ever seen it, Office Space.
Yeah.
And it talks about work.
Oh yes.
But one of the moments he says, he's like, I do the bare minimum just to not get fired.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And so like, I mean, really, there's not so much you can get, nothing you're gonna get out of that.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about what contributes to burnout.
Okay.
Burnout is, so there's a bunch of definitions out there, but the World Health Organization focuses on, yes, it's an experience of chronic stress that is mismanaged, but by who? I want to throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll experience exhaustion, cynicism, and a decrease in efficiency. Okay. Now that aspect of mismanaged, there's only so much that we can do.
That's an interesting way to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or unmanaged. Don't quote me on it.
Okay.
I'll have it in our show notes. But it's like unmanaged or mismanaged, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And there's only so much that that employee can do to manage what's causing the chronic stress. So the things that are contributing to the chronic stress are workload, a lack of autonomy, unrealistic expectations, and toxic management. So tell me, out of all of those things, who's responsible for managing all that?
Yeah, not the employee.
Right?
Not the employee.
Now, it is helpful, if not maybe necessary, for the employee to like communicate that there are issues.
Boundaries need to be set.
That like, hey, this workload I have, and people may not know all the other things you got going on and all the other demands, especially if you're getting, tasks thrown at you from a variety of people and places.
Yeah.
So being able to communicate, hey, workload, hey, I work better, when I only have check-ins once a week instead of multiple times a day, because that takes more time.
Yeah.
Hey, or letting them know, because you're the expert of your role. And so letting people know what are realistic expectations for getting something done. So if people keep on dropping things on you, like, okay, cool, here are these other things that I have going on. Which would you like me to? What's
your priority?
Yeah. Yes. Which would you like me to put on hold so that way I could focus on this, since you're saying this needs to take priority.
Yeah.
So communicating all of that. And then with the toxic management stuff, that's very difficult to navigate with someone.
I hear that. I mean, the hard part is, all right, so people who manage out there, like, I see it, I hear you, it's hard, because the idea is usually typically you have the job that you're now, overseeing. You had the job, and now you're management because you did that apparently well, or you've been around long enough that you know how it works. And you now manage these people doing it. It doesn't mean that you are actually good at managing. You just know the job that they're doing. Or hopefully know the job that they're doing. And I mean, partly it's a very different skill set. And it's really tough, because you kind of have to do this meta analysis of yourself, the role, the job. How do you inspire? What does that look like? It's a different type of leadership. It's a different thing. You're not talking about the job. You're talking about your job is now motivating them to do the job that you know really well. So what motivated you to do it? What got you going? What got you excited? And if you're not managing like that, and you're not looking at that from that kind of 10,000 foot level, it's really tough, because you're just sitting around like, well, you should just do the job.
Yeah.
And so many people have to then manage up, because they don't know how to then allocate that time, that effort,
and the emotional labor that comes to managing up.
Yeah.
Like, why am I having to do that when you're getting paid so much more?
Well, and productivity then suffers, right? So you drop like in productivity.
Yeah. So ideally, people who are in leadership roles have proper training and coaching with like really mastering these types of skills, these interpersonal skills, these communication skills, active listening, in order to be more efficient with their team. And then ideally the team also has training and support so that way they can navigate amongst themselves and feel effective enough and confident enough to be able to communicate what the issues, needs, barriers are to management as well. So there's a lot to do.
There is, but it's solvable. It's all solvable.
That's the thing.
There's a pathway to get there.
Yeah.
She can help you get there.
He can help you get there as well. So again, if you're in entertainment, tech, music, and you're going to be at South by Southwest, we will see you there at our workplace mental health meetup. That's this next Friday, a week from Friday, March 7th at 4 p.m. Other than that, take a look at the link in our bio. We have a variety of resources for you, especially if you're in film and television. We have specialized trainings because, as we mentioned, the workplace is very unique. And so that requires a unique set of safety trainings and creating a psychologically safe workplace under those
anywhere in entertainment whatsoever.
Yeah.
Go check it out. It's amazing.
And then for everyone else, we mentioned how some of the perks at work are like a free app. I know there's a variety that people use. I've tested them all out. Some just don't really vibe with me very well.
Yeah.
I work with Aura Health app. And what I like about this one is that they have sleep stories.
Well, so does some of the other ones.
These are really fun and fantastical.
So do some of the other ones are too. But what I love these because it's Aura is more comprehensive, more thoughtful, more engaging, and has a lot more choices. You want to do coaching, you can do coaching and engage in that. You want to do a sleep story, you do a sleep story. You can get all of those in the same place, even the different types of noise. It's awesome. Yeah.
So you could get educational lessons, and then the ones that I create have kind of the same flow that I do for all of my trainings, where we're going to be reflecting, we're going to be learning, and then we're going to be evolving, which means we're going to talk about actual practical steps that you could take in order to make changes in your life. And I don't expect everyone to be on the same page or to go from 0 to 100, but I give you a variety of options and you get to choose from them where you're at and what feels good for you. There's even journal prompts in there, and
it's more comprehensive. It's more of a mental health app, like a full integrated mental health app.
You can even do one-on-one coaching directly in there, and then share your health reports and everything with your coach. So it's pretty cool. That's one option.
If you have other options you like, great, let us know.
Yeah. And then so for the trainings, learn.witandreason.com. Right now, what we have on demand are particularly for the entertainment industry. We have mental health first aid that we can come in and train.
Be like a first responder, be like a CPR ready person, but for mental health, find us, talk to us. We'll get you set up with mental health first aid. It's amazing. It's a great program. Everyone should be doing this anyway. Everybody should know mental health first aid. If you ever knew anybody who had any type of crisis, any type of mental health thing, any type of loss, this is essential
material. Any type of human experience.
This should take over driver's ed.
If you have humans in your workplace, you're going to need mental health first aid.
If you have anything.
Yes. And so take a look at the link in our bio. We have a lot of resources in there. And we will see you again next Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll be talking
from Austin.
Yes. At that point, we'll be live streaming from Austin, and we'll be talking more about how to bring mental health and wellness into our daily lives. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
If you came in late to our live stream recording, then you could find the recording on our YouTube channel at Wit and Reason. And
find us wherever you find your podcasts.
Yeah. That's going to be up live soon. Yeah. I have to do some editing to get it radio ready.
Fair.
But we will see you all again soon. Thanks.